We're back for our daily college basketball best bets here on Thursday, March 19th. The round of 64 begins today, and thus begins the madness. Oh man, at March Madness, it is here officially. The first four, it's cool, right? There's cool stuff with the first four. This is something else now. Round of 64, games all day long, games, again, multiple games at the same time. Ready for the quad boxes on YouTube TV. I can't wait. I'm so excited. March Madness officially begins today. Let's do it. No more NIT. We're putting a bookmark into that until I think Tuesday. That's fine. March Madness, round of 64 today, tomorrow, and then obviously the round of 32, both on Saturday and Sunday. Big stuff happening today with college basketball. And folks, before we get into these best bets, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. Later today, we're going to have our NBA best bets, so make sure to join us for that. And also as well, we still have our full bracket predictions up on the channel. Obviously, before all the games get going today, we talked about every single tournament game. I'm still going to go over the tournament at the end of the video. I'm going to give my picks on each individual game still, but obviously we go through every single game. That's more a dedicated video to that also on the channel, so make sure to go check that out. That'll be linked in the description down below. But let's do it now. We've got our 5 best bets for this Thursday slate of college basketball, and Greedo plays them May, by the way. Our UFC Fight Night Evloev versus Murphy full card predictions. Best bets will be out later today on Greedo Plays MMA for that card, and also our PFL predictions are up with Costello Venstines and Fabian Edwards in the main event from Madrid, Spain for the PFL Middleweight Championship. I do need to say before we get into the video, I'm actually recording this ahead of time. It's the first time I've done this all year long. Obviously, I've never gotten the opportunity to do this because, well, we have to make videos nightly, obviously, because the odds don't come out ahead of time. Tonight, I am doing this, so actually, I am recording this video right after I recorded, I guess, the video. To me, it's still Wednesday, so Wednesday's video, obviously, with the NIT games and with the first 4. So I don't, right now, me recording this video, I don't know what happened with Lehigh Prairie View. I don't know what happened with Miami of Ohio versus SMU. I hope the Red Hawks got past the Ponies. At the very least, I hope they covered. Don't know. So again, I'm recording this ahead of time, so I have no reaction to yesterday's games. Hopefully, we had a positive day. If not, shucks. Hopefully, though, we had a good day. But I don't believe, and it shouldn't. Nothing that I am going to watch me on Wednesday currently is going to watch later today in the first 4 is going to affect how I feel about these round of 64 matchups. And for tomorrow's video, we'll be completely back on track. Like, I'll be recording this video, or tomorrow's video, late Thursday night, getting ready for Friday's action. So just saying that right now, so I don't know what happened on the first 4 games. So if I can't reference anything that happened, obviously, with yesterday's results, just putting that out there before we get things going. Okay, on to the first of our 5 best bets today for the madness. And we kick things off with Nebraska versus Troy. Guys, I had to do it. I had to do it. Nebraska, the University of Nebraska, has never won an NCAA tournament game ever. In their school's history, Nebraska basketball has never won a game in March Madness. They probably do it here, okay? If they don't do it here, there's something wrong. This is absolutely their opportunity. Nebraska all-time in the NCAA tournament is 0-8, dating back to 1986, in which they lost their first matchup in an 8-9 matchup against Western Kentucky. Then they were the 3 seed in 1991, where they lost by 5 points to Xavier. They're back in the tourney in 92 as an 8 seed. They lose to UConn by 21. They return to the tournament in 93 the year after as a 10 seed, lose to the Aggies of New Mexico State by 14. Back in the tournament in 94 as a 6 seed, lose to 11 seeded UPenn out of the Ivy. Come back in 98 as an 11 seed, they lose to Arkansas by 9. 2014, they're back, they lose to Baylor by 14. 2024, first time in 10 years, they're back in the tourney. Phenomenal regular season out of Nebraska. It was Tomy time, it was Keisei Tominaga magic. I was so behind Nebraska that year, albeit I was at the University of Indiana University that year, but obviously IU's not in the tournament because they never are. But 24, they lose in the first round. A&M puts 98 points on them in the first round of the tournament. 0-8 all time are Nebraska, but they did win the NIT back in 1996, so there's that. Anyways, can this year finally be the year? They were a higher seed at one point in time. Again, 91, they were a 3 seed, ran into Xavier, lost by 5 points, 89-84. I have to imagine this is where they finally win a game in the tournament, but I'm taking the points on Troy. Again, I expect Nebraska to win. I would be shocked actually, I won't be that shocked if Nebraska loses. It will be hilarious if they do. I think they likely win, but in terms of covering a spread tonight, hell no. Early game, second earliest game on the schedule. First one is TCU versus Ohio State. Then there is Troy versus Nebraska. Yeah, I don't think Nebraska's covering this spread. Guys, there's so much pressure on Nebraska to win this basketball game. I mean, there has to be on Fred Hoiberg, on that team. They've heard it all before. You can't win the tournament because, again, historically, they've never done it, and they get to this point. It's the highest seed you've been, again, since 1991. Best team you've had in a while. You were undefeated for most of the season. You're supposed to win. You're absolutely supposed to win this game, and we'll see. I mean, I think this team's going to be pressing a little bit. They're beyond Price Sanford. Are they really that good? Because down the stretch of this year, they have not been great. Again, Rink Mass is going to have his games. Braden Frager is going to have his games. I don't know. Towards the end of the year, they have not been playing that well. This team was 21-2 at one point. They finished the year 26-6. I don't like that. They finished, winning 5 of 9 to end the regular season, which again, normally isn't horrible, but you were 20-0 at one point. You finished 26-6. That's a better one. You finish your regular season 6-6, or just your season in general, obviously losing the Purdue game in the Big Ten tournament. But again, the importance of is talking about that 12-game stretch. Again, starting 20-0, phenomenal. Big victories in Urbana-Champaign against Illinois, at home against Michigan State, great wins in Bloomington against Indiana, which at the time was a way better win, obviously, than it ended up being, obviously, because the Hoosiers suck. But the final 12 games of the year, lost at Michigan, lost at home to Illinois, win at Rutgers, lose at home in a failed comeback attempt against Purdue. You beat Northwestern, lose at Iowa, beat Penn State, beat Maryland, go to SC and win, lose at UCLA, beat Iowa in overtime to finish the regular season, go into the Big Ten tournament, you lose in your first game against the Purdue Boilermakers, who, yes, ultimately ended up winning the Big Ten, but still I just don't love it. Scoring-wise, Nebraska has not been the same since earlier in the year. I mean, don't forget, this team had a stretch when they started off Big Ten play. To start off Big Ten play, they beat Wisconsin, and don't just beat the Badgers. They put up 90 points in Wisconsin and beat them by 30. At home, sure, but you win 90-60 against Wisconsin. A high-scoring Wisconsin team. They outscore them by 30. They go to Urbana-Champaign and put up 83 on Illinois. And now, towards the end of the season, we're looking at, you're only scoring 68 against Northwestern. Sure, you still win, but you're losing 57-52 to Iowa. You're losing to UCLA and only putting up 52 points in Westwood Hills, California. Purdue, you only dropped 58. I'm kind of out on this team. I think they win tonight. Absolutely. I think they beat Troy, right? It would be shocking if they don't. Do you believe they beat Vandy next round? I don't. And I'm as big of a Big Ten guy as you're going to get. I usually will always cheer, unless it's like Purdue. I will cheer for the Big Ten over the SEC 90% of the time. And again, I'm not saying I would be cheering for Vandy over Nebraska. I just believe Vandy's better than Nebraska. And that's obviously the matchup we're probably going to see in the round of 32. Vandy's got to take care of business against the McNeese Cowboys, who are capable of pulling off upsets, I understand, but I do think Vandy's going to get them. And I think Nebraska's going to beat Troy. But 12.5 points is a lot for a Troy team that was undoubtedly the best in the Sun Belt this year, right? The parity in the Sun Belt was crazy this year, though, right? Because we talked about it going into the Sun Belt tournament. There were six or seven teams that were all, I think it was 7 teams that were tied for second place in the conference. They all went 11-7 in the 11-7 in the Sun Belt, except for one. Obviously, out of the really good teams, Troy. Troy was better than the pack, and sure, they only had a game on all these teams, but they finished with the 12-6 conference record, 22-11 as a whole. They got the 1 seed in the Sun Belt tournament. They outlasted 2 real Cinderella teams in the Sun Belt tournament, teams with all this momentum in both Southern Miss and Georgia Southern in back-to-back contests. And the Troy Trojans proved that, yes, they were by far the best team in the Sun Belt Conference, and they, again, proved that in the Sun Belt tournament. Troy's not giving up any size to Nebraska. You'll see some of these mid-major teams that just aren't big, and they just rely on guard play, like random shout-out Liberty, obviously. Troy's not going to be lacking any size here. Maybe, again, look at exactly how tall Rink Mast is. My guess is, before I see it, 6'11". He's 6'10". Okay. Makes sense, right? I mean, Troy's not giving up much size. Their center is Thomas Dowd, really. Dowd kind of plays a 4, but he just gets a lot of rebounds. Theo Sang is going to be the biggest guy on the court, but they're going to play three big guys on the court at all times, three forwards. Well, not at all times, but they have three forwards that they can look to. Again, their best player by far, Thomas Dowd. Dowd averages 15 points per game and 10 rebounds per game. This is a guy who can extend the court, is able to extend the court with his three-point shooting ability. Phenomenal rebounder, better scorer. In the Sun Belt Championship game, Thomas Dowd puts up 23 points against Georgia Southern, 2 of 5 from beyond the arc, 8 for 12 from the field, 5 of 6 at the free throw line, but 23 points and 13 rebounds. Difference maker. He's one of their bigs. And then there's Theo Sang, who's not going to play more than 30, but he does average 12 and 6. Sang has been out. I don't know if he's going to be back for this or not. I'm not sure. I think he may be. I'm not sure. Yeah, Sang is back. Okay, yeah, just making sure. Yeah, Sang is back. Latest report on Theo Sang from, it was John Rothstein, that, yeah, Sang is back. He practiced yesterday and should be available for the Trojans' first NCAA tournament game next week. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, so Sang is back. So you get another guy who's going to come on, who's going to play and bring you size. I doubt Sang's going to come, is going to start. He's probably going to come off the bench, but another legit center who can provide you, again, size on the court. Victor Valdez, the other forward for Troy, again with the Sang injury, but Sang will be back. Valdez averaged 15 points the regular season, the junior out of Monterrey, Mexico. Troy's given up no size in this game. Absolutely not. And Dowd, best player in the Sun Belt Conference. This is a decent team, man. They really are. Again, overall shooting-wise, they're not going to be the best. They will, again, attempt their three-point shots, but they're not afraid to attack the basket. They will look for easy looks, and they're going to try to find them. Nebraska's a good team. I'm not going to deny that. But sometimes I watch Nebraska games, and it's like Iowa of sorts. When Bennett Sturts isn't on, you don't know what to expect out of the Hawkeyes. But Nebraska, if Price Sanford's not on, what do we expect? Sanford last 3 games, just need to say it, 9 points against UCLA, 15 points against Iowa, 15 against Purdue. Again, if Sanford only scores 15, Nebraska probably wins. But do they cover 12.5? The answer to that question is no. I think Troy is good enough to keep up with this team. I think Troy's got the size to keep up with this team. And again, I respect the run at Nebraska. They're gonna get their first tournament win ever tonight. I think they will. Okay, but asking them to cover 12.5 is just something I can't give you. I'm gonna go the Troy Trojans. Getting points, first round of the tournament, 12.5 for Troy. Nebraska is looking to simply win a basketball game. They're not looking to cover anything. Troy plus 12.5, I love the spot. Second best bet of the video, we continue on, obviously, with the tourney. And we move now to a matchup between the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors and the Arkansas Razorbacks. So hopefully, the hate watch will commence right here. We're skipping games from 10 to 1 or early 1 o'clock. Nothing I like South Florida, Louisville. We're going to talk about all these games, obviously, at the end of the video, and I will tell you who I think is going to win each of these games. I'll just tell you now, I think USF's going to beat Louisville. Am I confident enough to play even, USF on the points? No, I'd rather look at this. Arkansas, Hawaii, Arkansas 15-point favorites. They should put belt to ass here. They should, okay? I understand. Hawaii, really great defensive team. Okay, I'm not going to deny that out of them. We've hate watched the Rainbow Warriors all year long because, they play on their own island. Teams got to come across the Pacific Ocean to play them. They get the benefit of the doubt on every single foul call in every single game they play. The Big West refs love them. I'm not going to go through that narrative today, though. I'm not going to say, it is true. The refs aren't going to give them every single call. They're not going to get every single call. But still, I'm not going to completely play that card for this game. Okay, I think it's a factor, but I'm not going to give you that as my main reasoning why I'm taking the Rainbow Warriors to get blown out today, okay? Arkansas beats them everywhere. They do, okay? Hawaii wants to play a slower game. Hawaii wants to play a defensive matchup. Sure. Okay, good luck stopping Darius Acuff, who has all of a sudden put himself legitimately in the top 5 conversation for the NBA draft. True freshman, averaging 23 points per game. Acuff's always been a lottery guy, but now legitimately is it okay? Could he get picked over Caleb Wilson's a legitimate conversation? You're not bumping the top 3 in my opinion. You're not. Even though I see Boozer's stock fluctuating a little bit. 1 and 2, I don't know the order yet. My guess is still Peterson and DeBonsta, but some teams may like DeBonsta more. Whatever. We know DeBonsta and Peterson are going 1 and 2. Even though, again, Boozer's stock sometimes feels iffy, plays at Duke, they're the number 1 overall seed, he's likely going 3. 4 is now the question. I've always thought it'd be Caleb Wilson 4, and then I thought Kingston Fleming's 5. there's a chance Acuff could go over Wilson. I don't think so. I think the 4 pick still probably is Wilson. But now the conversation, do you go Acuff or Kingston Flemings? I'll tell you this, personally, I like Kingston Flemings more. I think Acuff's phenomenal. I think Flemings is a slightly better player. I think he'll be a better NBA player. But that's not to say, again, I think Acuff is really great, and I would not be shocked, and I wouldn't say, oh, it's a bad pick if he did go over Flemings. I just personally, if I'm, picking a rookie and I need a guy who I'm going to rebuild around, I personally think Kingston Flemings is more of the complete package. But again, not to say Acuff's not a great player. Acuff's really good too. Here comes Darius Acuff, though, in the Arkansas Razorbacks, taking on the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Obviously, Arkansas is a huge favorite. They are minus 1,000 on the money line. Some, again, depends on the books, obviously, because not everyone's playing. I would never suggest you to play a minus 1,000 money line. You're going to see those odds fluctuate a little bit for Arkansas money line, obviously. They should cover 15 against Hawaii because, again, Arkansas scores a lot of points, and they do everything better than the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. The one thing is, Arkansas defensively may not be the best because they do play in the SEC. I'm not concerned. I'm really not. Guys, Hawaii's a bad scoring team. How are they going to score a bunch of points in Arkansas? Yeah, again, Arkansas straight up not a great defensive team. I get it. The Rainbow Warriors have struggled to score a lot for most of the year. I keep saying it, they're a horrible shooting team. They are awful at shooting the three-point ball. Isaac Johnson, big fish, will give them probably the most three-point range on the squad. He was a 31% three-point shooter this year. I would argue Big Fish was their all-around best three-point shooter this season, which, yes, sounds a little bit crazy. Ultimately, he probably is their best guy and the biggest threat. Because if you give Isaac Johnson wide open shots, he's going to hit them. His percentage may be lower than Harry Rulliad. Rulliad is probably a better overall three-point shooter, but still, he's going to take some contested shots. I can break down Hawaii easily because, again, I've said this all the time. Like, I watch pretty much every single Big West basketball game. It is, and I've, grown to even watch it more than the WCC and the Mountain West. I don't really miss Big West games, even if it's like LBSU or C-Sub or the Cesspool, right? Like, I usually watch Big West. Cesspool's obviously UC Riverside because UC Riverside is a cesspool. Don't forget that. Anyways, I watch a lot of Big West basketball. Like, I don't watch every single game, but I'm watching, on a nightly basis, I'm watching Big West basketball over any other conference, usually. So, I've watched pretty much every single Hawaii game this year because we love to hate watch Hawaii. And obviously, the hate watch has not gone well. They won the Big West. I understand. UCI failed us. Not once, but twice, obviously, in the NIT. It's okay. It's not, but it's fine. Hawaii, again, really struggles to shoot three-point ball. Defensively, they're really good, and I'll give you that. They do play a lot more physical than teams are allowed to play them, and that's been a result of legitimately Big West officiating and games in Hawaii. I'm not going to complain about the refs right now, but again, Hawaii shoots a lot of free throws. That's not me talking about the refs. It's just the truth. Hawaii shoots more free throws than any other team in the Big West. They've had games this season where they've shot 45 free throws. I don't think that's going to slide against Arkansas for two things. One, again, officiating, but two, Arkansas is not going to just hack you all game long. Arkansas is also going to get more of the benefit of the doubt than some of these other Big West teams, trust me. And Arkansas knows how to play, well, they are in the SEC, but still, okay. I believe, and I could be wrong, the bigs for Arkansas are going to be a big, huge problem for Hawaii. We're talking about Trayvon Brazile and Malik Ewan. These guys are really going to put Isaac Johnson to hell, in my opinion. I think it's going to be Malik probably on Isaac Johnson. It might be Brazile. It does not matter. They should play both of them at the same time. Because Hawaii can't shoot the basketball. They are trying to drive all game long. Okay, if Hawaii beats you from beyond the arc, which again, they're not. But if they do, you tip your hat and say, okay, you outplayed us. You won the game. You beat us. They're not going to do it. Because you get guys like Dre Bullock. Dre Bullock loves shooting the three-point ball, and he'll hit one every single game, but he'll go like 1 for 7, and that's the one three-point shot he'll hit. He's a 26% three-point shooter. Gitas Nemitska is going to shoot three-point shots. He's a 27% three-point shooter. Isaiah Kerr, one of their point guards is him and Aaron Hunkin-Clater, but Hunkin-Clater has been hurt pretty much the entire second half of the season, and I don't think they're getting Hunkin-Clater back for this. Isaiah Kerr is going to shoot the three-point ball. He's a 27% three-point shooter. Again, I'm telling you, they are awful from beyond the arc. Johnson's their best guy. They run everything through Isaac Johnson. He gets fouled a lot. He flops a lot, but he's a 90% free throw shooter with his dumbass routine where he chucks the ball over his head and dribbles. Dude does 3 big dribbles before taking a free throw. I get it. Again, he's good, but we've seen all year long for the most part. And the exception is the UCI game, the last matchup. Johnson played really well against a really good big and the defensive player of the year in the Big West in Isaiah Evans. For the most part this year, Isaac Johnson has really struggled against teams who have good centers and really teams that have centers in general. Hawaii, was usually able to foul centers out, like the Cal State Bakersfield game. They foul out Cal State Bakersfield center essentially in the first 8 minutes of the game. He had 4 fouls in 8 minutes. It was absurd, so he can't play the entire game. Hawaii tries to take away your center right away because they will drive at you all game long, and in Hawaii, they'll get those calls. They're not going to get it against Arkansas. They won't. Arkansas will be able to put a lot of pressure on Hawaii, and Hawaii is not a team that plays particularly well from being down. The biggest example of that I will use when they just played Long Beach State, and that's why I was so shocked Hawaii was able to still win the Big West tournament. Their final regular season game, they could have gotten the number 1 seed in the Big West tournament. They could have won the regular season championship in the Big West, but they played Long Beach State on their senior night. LBSU, who was one of the worst teams in the Big West, they were only better than the cesspool and Bakersfield. Bakersfield's awful. LBSU rolls into that game with the Big West Freshman of the Year, Gavin Sykes, and LBSU beats Hawaii 84-75. What do? They put pressure on Hawaii. They took late game leads. They were up by 10 pretty much most of that second half, and Hawaii's just chasing. They can't obviously overcome what Sykes and LBSU is able to do. Long Beach ends up winning the game by 9 points. High-scoring teams were able to beat Hawaii. Cal Poly came into Hawaii and beat this team. When Hawaii went to Northridge, CSUN put up 84 points in them. If you can get out and get going early, and again, all I want, Arkansas needs to score 10 points before Hawaii scores 5. Again, not a necessity, but if it happens, we are in a phenomenal spot because Hawaii is not going to catch up from that. Arkansas will just keep on adding on. And obviously, again, that's Darius Acuff's job. 37, 24, 30 in back-to-back games in the SEC tournament. 47% three-point shooter this year? 45% three-point shooter this year? Yeah, give me that. Hawaii, not a great perimeter defensive team. Where they excel is if you drive on them. They don't switch. They go over pick and rolls. They go over screens, and they're really good at doing that. I'll give them credit. They play really good defense. That's if you drive on them. Arkansas is going to be able to shoot over this. Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas, we're fine. All day Arkansas. This should be a blowout. Hawaii, give them credit for winning the Big West, but Arkansas, this is a whole other deal. I'm going to go Arkansas. The hate watch will finally be completed. But honestly, it's not even a hate watch. Good for Hawaii, man. They won the Big West. I'm not going to hate watch them with Arkansas. We're going to pick Arkansas. We hope Arkansas, beats them by 15. But obviously, yeah, Hawaii's supposed to lose here. Screw these guys, though, for all the bullshit we had to watch in Hawaii this year. Oh, man, Hawaii games at home this year were so insufferable. But yeah, Arkansas minus 15, just stylistically, they match up really well with the Rainbow Warriors. So give me Arkansas to, I guess, complete the hate watch, if you still want to call it that. Next up, we go to potentially the most controversial game of this entire slate of games, I think. North Carolina versus VCU. Might be the most common upset pick of the day. It's probably USF still. I think USF's probably still the most common upset. But I'd argue it's UNC versus VCU. I really like VCU to beat North Carolina, man. I said this right at the start when we got the bracket and we looked over that bracket when it came out on Sunday night. Right away, when I was watching the bracket show, I saw VCU North Carolina. Instantly, I thought, okay, yeah, VCU just got hot. They won the Atlantic 10. They should be able to carry that into beating North Carolina in the first round of the tournament, especially a North Carolina team that's obviously without Caleb Wilson for the season. UNC has always screwed us this year, I'll say. Again, even when Caleb Wilson was healthy, we would take North Carolina and they would just suck. It's the truth. I'm a little salty about that, sure, I will say. But we watched North Carolina in the ACC tournament. Obviously, they're one game against Clemson. Yes, they end up losing the game by 1 point, but ultimately, it's competitive at the end. And yes, North Carolina made it close at the end. I get it. They're trailing for 90% of that game, it felt like. It's a competitive first half until with about 7 minutes to go, Clemson goes on a big run and North Carolina just can't get themselves out of that hole. That entire second half, they're trying to work back into the game, and they're pretty unsuccessful at doing so, except for the last 3 minutes where Clemson forgot how to shoot a free throw. North Carolina turned them over 1 or 2 times. UNC gets it down to 1 eventually, but obviously Clemson holds them off just barely. Clemson hits, hits a couple free throws to win the game, whatever. Legitimately, they hit only 2 free throws down the stretch, but they did just enough to win the game by 1 point. I worry about North Carolina being able to score in this game. About half their shots are threes, which, you expect that out of a team like North Carolina, again, missing their star, who, again, when they had Caleb Wilson, their offense was really simple. You feed Caleb Wilson in the post, and you see what can be created off of that. Either a team's going to double Caleb Wilson, or obviously North Carolina believed enough in Caleb Wilson's ability, which again, he is the expected number 4 pick in the NBA draft. They believed enough in his ability where you can give him the ball in the post, he can back a guy down, he's going to hit a little hook shot, and it's going to go in. Again, or he's going to get fouled and he's going to get to the free throw line. He's going to hit those free throws. That's what North Carolina is really dependent on. And either, again, you send 2 on him and he's able to kick out and you have a wide open shooter like a Seth Trimble, or you have another center, obviously, in Vesser on the court from Estonia, or you leave Caleb Wilson on an island, he's going to score points. Now, for the most part, it worked, other than when we had money on North Carolina, like the SMU game that sucked ass. But whatever, right? For the most part, North Carolina was really great this season with Wilson. Without him, it's been a different story. Yeah, they're still ranked. Currently, they're 21st in the country. They were 19th going into the Clemson game, ultimately right before that loss. They have not been great, though, without Caleb Wilson. I know they won a couple games at home. Like, they beat Syracuse. That was on the road. But they beat Louisville. They beat VTech. They beat Clemson at home. North Carolina doesn't lose in Chapel Hill. That's just one of their things. They don't lose at home. And I know this one's in South Carolina against VCU, obviously not in North Carolina, but it's close enough. Okay, I don't know my Carolina geography that well. I might pull up a map here, but I can't imagine again. I mean, yes, it's going to be a majority North Carolina crowd, but it's not going to be that much to make, the difference that much. Let me see. Okay, so, oh no, Greenville's pretty far from, I think. I'm pretty sure Greenville's like fairly far from Chapel Hill. It's like far enough. Hold on, let me get this map. Yeah, okay. This is like a 4 to 5 hour drive. Obviously, North Carolina fans are going to make the trip, and North Carolina fans are going to obviously have a presence in this game. I just don't think it's enough. Again, it's not Chapel Hill. You're not playing in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. It's just a little bit different. So I think VCU is going to win the game outright. We're going to take the 2.5 points because we're being given points here, and I'm willing to, again, I don't want to lose a close one where UNC wins it off a buzzer beater or whatnot, because again, it's March. We're going to continue to see, obviously, a lot of close finishes, right? Again, I have not seen yesterday's first 4 action yet, obviously, with recording this video ahead of time, but in the first day of the NCAA tournament, obviously in the first 4 in Dayton, we saw both games in the first 4 with that, 16 versus 16 game with UMBC and Howard, and the NC State-Texas games. They both came down to the final shot, and they were both one-possession contests. So that's why I'm willing to take the 2.5 here, because I feel like this game is going to go down to the wire, one way or the other, whether it be VCU winning or it be North Carolina winning. I do think the game is going to go down potentially to this final shot. VCU is a great defensive basketball team. And you could say that about a lot of the A-10, but especially VCU, right? VCU, probably the best defensive team in the Atlantic 10 Conference. And yes, it is a big difference going from playing Atlantic 10 teams to an ACC school and playing North Carolina specifically. I understand. VCU has not given up more than, I think, 66 points since February 20th. We're coming up on about a month where VCU has not given up more than 66 points. Last team to do it was St. Louis. In St. Louis, obviously, the Billikens did not win the A-10 because that was VCU. Now, they did not cross paths in the A-10 tournament, but St. Louis was a really good team. VCU down the stretch of this season, though, at one point in time, they were 11-6. They ended up winning, 16 out of their last 17 games. And yes, these are A-10 games, but still, the winning culture matters. And just the all-around, idea of, okay, we expect to win games now matters. VCU, they needed to win out. They needed to win the A-10 tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. Again, they had won, I guess at the time, 13 of 14 games to close the regular season. They were 25-7 going into their tournament, and yet the committee said, yeah, basically, you're not in if you don't, well, obviously they didn't know this at the time, but it ultimately came to be true. They weren't getting in the tournament unless they beat Duquesne, beat St. Joseph, shout out to the Hawks, and Dayton in 3 straight games and 3 straight days to obviously win the A-10 title. They weren't going to put him in. They refused to have a 3-bid A-10 conference, of course. But VCU accomplishes that. They win, and they do it because of their defense. Offensively, I'm not going to write home about anything, really. I mean, again, they're a team that finds buckets. They're not going to do anything flashy offensively. They are going to use a lot of the shot clock, I will say. They're going to play a slower style of game. They're not a bad 3-point shooting team. Their volume of 3-point shots does vary on the game, I will say. But really, they'll sit in the mid-20s 3-point shooting wise. And again, it's just dependent on how well they're shooting the 3-point ball, obviously. I would say they're an above average 3-point shooting team. At least in the A-10 they are. Against UNC, I think they should be good enough from beyond the arc. I just think it's what they do defensively is what's really going to, lose this game for North Carolina. I think if you play physical defense, I think if they close out on 3-point shooters, I think North Carolina is going to struggle, and they've struggled, again, away from Chapel Hill without Caleb Wilson. because they don't have a number one scorer. And that obviously has really affected what they want to do offensively. Again, they can't just enter the post. I mean, they try to enter the post to Visar and let him work and see if, again, we're going to find a shooter. And obviously, Visar played a really good game against Clemson. He had 28 and 17 against the Tigers, right? They don't come back in that game if it's not for their Estonian center, who did knock down some big three-pointers down the stretch of that game. I understand. But again, if Henry Visar is your number one guy, I don't know if I can rely on you to win a game in the tournament. And VCU is good. Again, they should be higher than an 11. 11's crazy for VCU. I mean, again, regular season, you finish 27-7. You win all these games, 16 of 17 to close the regular season to get into the NCAA tournament, and you get rewarded with an 11 seed? Come on. That's just disrespect to the mid-majors. Let's just be honest. That's what it is. I don't love this North Carolina team going into this tournament. Again, we watched the Clemson game. They laid an egg against Clemson. Other than Visar and Trimble, who else is going to score for this team? Again, give them shots. They're not going to knock them down. And again, VCU's not going to let them obviously just be wide open from beyond the arc, obviously. I just think the Rams are better than North Carolina. Legitimately, that's the truth. North Carolina, again, has struggled to find an identity without Caleb Wilson, and this is an easy matchup for VCU. It is. VCU, again, and if I'm VCU too, I feel like we're much better than an 11 seed, obviously. But it's either, this sounds crazy. If it was this or the 10-7 matchup taken on St. Mary's, I'd rather take on North Carolina right now. That's the truth. VCU St. Mary's would be interesting, though. Both teams kind of play the same, kind of. That'd be really interesting. But still, I like VCU here. What they do defensively is going to pay huge dividends in this matchup. Leading scorer on the year is Terrence Hill. Hill had a good year, don't get me wrong. Averaged 14.5 points per game. Sophomore to Portland, Oregon. He's put up double digits in his last 8-ish games, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's Lazar Djokovic. He's their big. It's going to be him and Visar, obviously. Serbia versus Estonia. Djokovic averaged 13.5 points per game this year and 5.5 boards. We'll see how much of an impact he has on this game. I like VCU, guys. I like VCU to cover the points, 2.5. Very tempted to take the money line. I think it's definitely playable. Take a sprinkle, I guess, on it, even though it's not much of a sprinkle at plus 125. But I like the Rams to cover 2.5. And ultimately, yes, I do believe they're going to win the game outright as well. VCU, North Carolina. Again, Tar Heels without Caleb Wilson. I just don't trust him. VCU from the A10 pulls off the upset. On to our fourth best bet of the video. We move now to Brigham Young versus Texas. Again, as of, and I hope the line doesn't move that much, and if it does, I will say take the -2. But again, as of early Wednesday morning when I'm recording this video, BYU opens at, they open at -155. This is down now to -140 as of, again, 2 a.m. on Wednesday. It's -140 for Brigham Young. If this is no longer at -140, again, it's the only time I've done this all year long where I've recorded ahead of time. It's helpful in me. I'm going somewhere on Wednesday, so I'm going somewhere in 8 hours, so I kind of want to get ahead today. I'm going to be home late. That's why I'm trying to do this right now. Anyways, at -140, this is phenomenal. If it's not -140, take the -2. We'll be okay there. But I'm going to go money line for Brigham Young to beat Texas. BYU's got no business losing to the Texas Longhorns. I know I've been kind of, I haven't been huge on BYU down the stretch, and it all starts because of the Richie Saunders injury. They don't have a true number 2. Yes, it's Robert Wright, but Saunders was so great for this team this year, and losing him has been a huge negative impact, obviously, on this team. There's no way they lose to Texas. No shot. I mean, Texas, North Carolina State, good for Texas for surviving and winning. Ultimately, though, we picked the game. Obviously, it was a tournament game, and we thought NC State was going to get it. Again, we were wrong. Competitive game comes down to the final shot. North Carolina State, they go 1 of 2 at the free throw line after turning over Texas. They obviously go 1 for 2, and then Tremont Mark goes down the court and hits bleeds the clock out and hits a shot with 1 second left in the shot clock, or just on the game clock in general. Texas wins, good for them. Again, I said this yesterday, if Kadir Copeland doesn't miss 3 layups in the first half, North Carolina State wins the game. I just want to put that out there. Just want to say it. Whatever. Texas wins, but ultimately, it was a tournament game, yes. Ultimately, both the teams sucked going into the tournament. Texas had won 1 out their last 6. NC State had won 1 of 7 going into that game. Both the teams had played like ass going into that game. Good for Texas for winning. You get a tournament win. Good for you. BYU's too much. And I said this with our tournament video, and I'm going to say it again now. AJ DeBunst is the type of player where he'll get you a game in this tournament. He will. He'll get you a game. I'd argue he's going to give you 2. Now, we're going to talk about the other game in this regional in a second. Obviously, in this 4-team bracket in the West in a second here, because we're going to have, yeah, we will. Yeah, I don't know why I thought it was pretty. Obviously, It's Zaga, Kennesaw. We're going to get to that in a second. This 4-team bracket setup for Brigham Young, regardless of if it's Kennesaw or Gonzaga next round, BYU should be advancing past the first weekend. They should be going to the Sweet 16. Do they beat Purdue or Miami, whoever it is, Missouri? It's not going to be Missouri. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But out of these 4 teams, Texas, Zaga, BYU, Kennesaw, I do believe Brigham Young's going to get out of this. And yes, I do believe Brigham Young would beat Gonzaga. We'll get to that in a second. This game specifically, BYU again has no business losing to Texas, and I will say it's as simple as saying, yeah, AJ DeBonsta is too good to lose this game. The notion that DeBonsta can't perform in big-time situations and big-time games is gone, obviously, and I'll be honest with you, I said that a lot this year. At least early in the year when they played Kansas, when they played Houston, when they played Iowa State. Yeah, DeBonsta didn't show up early in the year. He completely changed that narrative at the end of the season. DeBonsta was great against the high-level teams in the Big 12. So I'm not going to say that again because, again, DeBonsta, and it was never a thing where I was like, he can't do it. It's just he hasn't done it so far, so we're going to keep picking against him. DeBonsta obviously rewrote that narrative. Good for him. I've never denied his talent. He's a phenomenal player. I still think Darren Peterson's slightly better, but DeBonsta's great. He's a phenomenal player. Averaged 25.5 points per game this year. Obviously led all of college basketball in points per game this season. He has been great. He is good enough to single-handedly buy you a game in the tournament. I would argue he's good enough to buy you 2. He is. Just like how, again, we're not going to Cal Baptist versus Kansas. Obviously, that's not a game that likely we're going to be going over tomorrow for a best bet. Maybe we will. I don't know. Kansas minus 14.5? Probably not. Maybe. Maybe. Baptist, not a great defensive team. In the WAC they were, but non-con, not great. Maybe, actually, we might take Kansas minus 14.5 tomorrow. Regardless, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Darren Peterson's good enough to get you that game. Is he good enough to get you a second? Yes. The game they'll have in the second round, though, against St. John's. Ooh, I don't know. I think Kansas beats St. John's, but do that? I don't know. I think they do, but we'll see. Anyways, stylistically, it's a horrible game for Kansas against the Johnnies. Still, though, DeBonsta is proven to be good enough to buy you a game in this tournament. Absolutely. He'll get you Texas. 100% he will. DeBonsta's going to take over this game and score 40. That's my guess. He's going to score 40. This is going to be a game, obviously, nationally televised spot on TBS. The whole world will get to see AJ DeBonsta on the big stage, and he will 100% show out. Believe you me, DeBonsta is going to be phenomenal. I am concerned about Brigham Young's lack of a second option, 100%. But this recent stretch out of DeBonsta, my goodness. That tournament, the Big 12 tournament alone, 40 points against K-State, 27 against WVU, 26 against Houston. You'll take it. You'll take it. There are games where it feels like sometimes AJ DeBonsta, when he wants to get to the hoop, there's nobody that is stopping him. If he wants to score and he wants to finish up top, you're not going to stop him. It's just a matter of how do you contain him and how do you limit him. He's just that good. Again, I am concerned about the supporting cast around DeBonsta. Again, no Richie Saunders, absolutely sucks. Robert Wright did end up averaging 18 points per game this year. He was not great in the Big 12 tournament. He was not. He was not the greatest, okay? Because Robert Wright, the difference between Wright and Saunders, why Saunders, with all due respect, is more impactful than Wright is, Saunders can stretch the court. Saunders is going to attempt legitimately 8 3-point shots per game. Not to say, again, Wright's not a bad 3-point shooter, actually, percentage-wise, he's better than Saunders, but obviously he takes nowhere near the volume of Saunders, and if Wright took the volume of 3-point shots that Saunders took, his percentage would be nowhere near as close. Would not be nowhere near as close as it is right now to Saunders. So that's my problem. Wright's a good scorer. He's not the shooter, though Saunders is. Their center, Keba Keita, he can give you moments. He can give you moments. Texas, not impressed. Yes, they do go out and beat NC State. Tremont Mark, game winner, ultimately ends up leading Texas in that game in points with 17. Again, good win for the Longhorns. Ultimately, though, this is still a team that sucked at the end of the regular season, losing 5 of 6. Watch out again for Jalen Swain. Swain didn't have a great game against NC State. Actually had a pretty bad game against North Carolina State. 2 for 9 from the field, 1 for 3 from beyond the arc, 13 points in 38 minutes. You kind of expect a little bit more out of your leading scorer. Of course, their center as well, Matis Vukaitis. I'm just going to keep butchering his name. I don't know how to say it. I'll be honest with you. I just can't. Something about the phonetics? That's not the right word. Oh my goodness, that's bad. My English is phonetics. That is not a word. Oh my goodness. What the? I don't know where that came from. The pronunciation of the word. My goodness. I just can't say it. He averages 15.5. Okay, put up 15 against NC State. That's the matchup though. Him versus Keba Keita. I believe you'll have some size on Keita, if I'm not mistaken. Keita's okay. Yeah, Keita's okay. Keita's 6'8". That's what I thought. I was gonna say he's like 6'10ish. He's a little shorter than I thought he was, but still, I think BYU is going to be fine there. Ultimately, though, this game comes down to AJ DeBonsta. Could be DeBonsta's only game in the tournament. It's not going to be, but this could be his only win in the tournament, which, well, you're going to hear my opinion in a second. I think BYU wins this game. Okay, minus 140 in the money line. I know it's not what we want to play of sorts, but it's good enough, I will say. So I'm going to go Brigham Young winning this game at minus 140 for the Cougars. They are way too good for Texas. Texas, again, played better defensively against NC State, but both teams just kind of suck. So I'm okay with BYU here to put a ass whooping, I think, on Texas. Brigham Young wins this game, advancing to the second round, minus 140 again for the Cougars. On to our final best bet of the video, we go to the other matchup from this regional in Portland, Oregon from the Moda Center as the 14th-seeded Kennesaw State Owls, the champions of the Conference USA, take on the champions of the West Coast Conference and the number 3-seeded Gonzaga Bulldogs. Kennesaw comes into this game with a record of 21-13. Gonzaga comes into this game with a record of 30-3. This was by far the biggest upset pick I took in the bracket. I took Kennesaw State, and I still am, to outright beat Gonzaga. That might sound ridiculous, I understand, because the game's in Oregon. It's not that far from Spokane, I understand. I'm taking Kennesaw to outright beat Gonzaga. I will say, Gonzaga lost on the road twice this year, but specifically, they lost in Portland, Oregon. Not at the Moda Center, not at the Rose Garden, but they did lose to the Portland Pilots. So I want to put that out there, okay? They are 0-1 this year in the city of Portland, Oregon. Just need to put that out there right off the bat. Yes, I'm taking Kennesaw to win it outright. I do believe if you have someone sitting around, plus 1,400 is legitimately playable for Kennesaw State. Now, do not put a unit on it. Don't put a lot of money on it, but I think you can sprinkle it. Don't expect to win it, though. Plus 21, yeah. 21 points is a lot. Kennesaw State should cover that. Okay, again, it's maybe somewhat of an out there pick. I get it, to take Kennesaw to outright beat Gonzaga. Okay, I've watched Kennesaw State a lot in the second half of the season. I've been paying real close attention to Kennesaw State after they lost their leading scorer. If you don't know, I've told the story a couple times. I'll tell it one more time. Simeon Cottle was the leading scorer and best player for Kennesaw for the last couple of seasons. He entered his senior year this year. He had started back-to-back seasons at Kennesaw, played his freshman year a little bit, but really came into his own his sophomore and his junior year. Averaged 16 points as a sophomore, 18 points as a junior. This year, he was averaging 20 points per game for Kennesaw. He had started in, give or take, about, I think, 60 games straight for Kennesaw State, 70 games straight for Kennesaw State. Okay. He was averaging 20 points per game this season. Played in 17 games until he got kicked off the team. Kicked off, or I guess expelled from the school. I believe, I don't know yet, I believe he should be going to federal prison. Ultimately, Simeon Cottle got busted for point shaving. Okay. Not great. Even though he was their leading scorer, it does make sense, though, because you look at some of the games Simeon Cottle played this year. I mean, how about 8 for 23 from the field, 6 for 21 from the field? Would have random great games, but would take so many shots. And I'm sure his over-under sat at probably around 20 and a half some games, and I'm sure the under was pretty easy for him sometimes. So they kick him off the team. I got to assume the guy's going to federal prison. RJ Johnson steps up as the next guy up. Not in terms of being the next guy up to point shave, but becomes their leading guy. RJ Johnson's a sophomore at Huntsville, Alabama, steps up from a bench role last year and even a bench role at times this season. He was starting towards the end of the Simeon Cottle era in Kennesaw, but still, RJ Johnson averages 14.5 points per game, and since Cottle's left the program and kicked off the program, Johnson's averaging about 20 points per game for Kennesaw State. He's a 43% three-point shooter. Doesn't take the most three-point shots, but he's a willing three-point shooter, and if you give him the shot, he's going to take it. You can't leave him there, obviously. And that's the thing about Kennesaw. They have a lot of guys who can shoot the three-point ball. Okay? Other than a couple of their fours and their centers, everyone can shoot. Every guard is a near 40% three-point shooter for Kennesaw State. Volume team 100%, but if they get going from beyond the arc, are they dangerous? 100% they are. Liberty Game's the Liberty Game's the best one to go off of. Liberty's still winning games in the NIT. Liberty, obviously, the other day, we had them to cover against George Mason. They didn't just do that. They won the game outright in Fairfax, Virginia against the George Mason Patriots. Liberty's a good team. And yes, I know Missouri State eliminated them in the CUSA tourney. Kennesaw, the game that really opened my eyes to this team is when they beat Liberty at home. They beat him 74-65. RJ Johnson had 25 points. And legitimately, they shot 70-something% from the field in the second half. I get it. The game was in Kennesaw, Georgia. A little bit different than Portland, Oregon, sure. But this is a team that if they just get flowing and they get into a rhythm shooting three-point shots, they are good. 60% they shot that night against Liberty. and I've been really excited about this team since. They did lose back-to-back games going into the CUSA tournament, but both on the road at UTEP and at New Mexico State. But in the CUSA tournament, 3 consecutive victories, Washington, Kentucky in 3 consecutive days, WKU, which was a coin toss matchup, Sam Houston, high-scoring team they beat, and then La Tech in the championship game, random. But yes, they beat the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs, who don't know what conference they're going to be in next year between the CUSA and the Sun Belt. If you have seen that, they are currently scheduled to play in both the CUSA and Sun Belt next year in football. They're on both schedules. It's really weird. They have 20 scheduled games as of right now. Very odd. Whatever. Kennesaw beats La Tech by 11 in the championship game. And yeah, they only scored 71 in that game. Trust me, they're capable of getting into the 80s and 90s pretty easily. They're going to give Gonzaga hell in this game, in my opinion. And I keep saying it, Zaga's not that good. They're not. They're a good team. They're not 12th best in the country. They are being heavily carried by Graham Ike. And the question, if you're Kennesaw, is how do we contain Graham Ike? Well, okay, let's bring on their junior forward in Franquan Sherman. That's your assignment, pal. Sherman is a pretty decent scorer for Kennesaw, averages 10 points per game, had over 15 in 3 consecutive matchups down the stretch of their conference tournament. That's your matchup, though. Go out there and get Graham Ike. No, I assume they're going to double. They play a couple bigs at the same time. They're going to play Franquan Sherman and Braden Liu. Liu's actually the taller player, but they're going to play both those guys at the same time. And those are the 2 guys who I mentioned can't shoot. So sometimes they get stuck in sets where, yes, they have 2 guys in the court who can't shoot, so that's why they try to limit the time where they play both Sherman and Liu at the same time. But against Ike, if you double Ike with those guys, force Gonzaga to make shots. Not Mario Saint-Supri. Don't force him to make shots. He's a 44% three-point shooter, but force Tylen Grant Foster to shoot. Hell, I'll take my chances with the Davis Fogel, 37% three-point shooter. I'll take my chances with Nkansi. I'll take my chances with an Adam Miller. Make those guys hit threes on you. I mean, again, we've seen Gonzaga beat this year, and yeah, it's only 3 times, but again, look at the schedule. They play in the WCC, right? Lost to Michigan once, sure, got blown out, but Portland beat them, St. Mary's beat them. Why can't Kennesaw? I know Zaga's got some really good wins, right? UCLA, they beat Oregon. They beat Kentucky. They've got some good wins, right? Oklahoma, Creighton. At the time, they were good wins. Bama, it's still a good win. Maryland, right? But they've played top teams. And yes, that's what Gonzaga does. Obviously, they're technically a mid-major, even though nobody considers them to be a mid-major. But they do play a difficult competition. They play a really good non-con schedule, sure. They are beatable. Portland put up 87 points, and then Portland beat them 87-80. St. Mary's beat them in Moraga. St. Mary's always takes a game off of Gonzaga. Gonzaga's running from them by leaving the WCC and going to the Pac-12. The Pac-12 should definitely take St. Mary's with them, but whatever. The Gales beat them 70-59. I'm telling you, the limiting factor on Gonzaga is their shooting. They will have games where they get going. Again, Saint-Supri is their best 3-point shooter. You can't leave him open. He had a big impact on that Santa Clara game in the WCC championship game. Saint-Supri had 21 points against the Broncos, which again, won them the WCC title. They were losing at halftime. Gonzaga has been in trouble all year long. Seattle U is winning for 95% of their game at Spokane this season. They've been incredibly beatable all year long, and yes, to their credit, they found ways to finish close games. San Francisco, the Dons were horrible this year. USF almost went into Spokane and beat them. The Zaga beat them by 2. They haven't been that dominant. I'm telling you, Kennesaw fired up for this game. Kennesaw is a good team. They're going to give Gonzaga hell. Now, I know Idaho really wanted this matchup against Gonzaga, but obviously ended up being Kennesaw instead. Idaho is a good team. I know they fired up for it because Spokane's kind of right next to Idaho. With all due respect to the Vandals, Kennesaw has a much better chance of beating Gonzaga than Idaho does. This is a phenomenal spot, I believe, for Kennesaw. Double Graham Ike. Braden Huff, to my knowledge, is not back yet. Okay, there's been no real update on Huff in terms of this game. Potentially, yes. Okay, Sweet 16 has been the official update from Mark Few. Sweet 16 is when they are hoping to get Braden Huff back. I'll tell you what, they're not going to the Sweet 16. Either they lose tonight, which I think they're going to, which I know that's absurd with plus 1,400 odds, but definitely, and I know I've been kind of on them all year long. Yep, BYU's beating this team. Brigham Young will do it. If they don't lose tonight, Gonzaga, Brigham Young will get Gonzaga. They will. I think they've got enough talent. But personally, I got Kennesaw State to beat Gonzaga. That sounds crazy, but if I'm right, I'm going to pat myself on the back. Regardless, though, we're not going to concern ourselves in the money line too much. We'll sprinkle on it. The best bet for us is 21 points. Gonzaga is not 21 points better than Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State won the CUSA for a reason, and don't judge them throughout the course of the season. Judge them on legitimately just the CUSA tournament, and judge them on their last 10 games. They played really great basketball. They're shooting it better than they ever have all year long. Watch out for RJ Johnson. He can really launch it. But they've got, again, a bunch of guards who can just shoot threes and take over games. RJ Johnson did not lead this team in scoring in their last 8 games. He's still, probably their all-around best scorer, but there was other players who stepped up. Guys you're not going to completely think of when you think of this Kennesaw team. In the championship game, Jaden Harris led them in scoring. He averaged 8 points per game this year, put up 18 in the championship game. This is a senior who's been waiting around for his opportunity, played in New Mexico State, steps up in the championship game. How about Amir Taylor? He's a freshman. Amir Taylor has had a monster run in the CUSA tourney, 23 against Sam Houston, 17 against La Tech. This is a true freshman averaging 7 points per game. They found random production out of just these, not kind of role guys, but rotational pieces who just step up in moments. I'm telling you, watch out for this team. They've really bonded together and banded together, in my opinion, since Simeon Cottle got released or dropped / kicked, expelled from the program. I love Kennesaw in this spot. They're not point shaving anymore. Kennesaw State, or they don't have a player point shaving. Hopefully the rest of the team's not doing it. Give me Kennesaw State plus 21 in the big dance. What a story it's been this year for the Owls. Hoot, hoot. Kennesaw State plus 21 in Oregon against Gonzaga. I'm telling you, I think they might just win. They will score enough points to 100% keep it within 21. Or can't always guarantee it, but again, they should keep it within 21. I believe the upset's possible, though. I really believe it is. This is my big upset watch for March Madness today. Folks, that'll do it for our best bets portion of the video. We will real quickly, though, go over every single game today. Again, we've already talked about it with our bracket breakdown, but I will real quickly go over every remaining matchup. Again, not going to spend too much time on every single one, but I will talk about it ever so slightly. So here we go. I'm not going to show the bracket. I will just show, we'll just show the ESPN schedule of games. So here we go. Okay. Real quickly, let's go over everything. Ohio State versus Texas Christian. I'm going with Ohio State to win this game. I think the big playmaking and big scoring of Bruce Thornton is going to overtake what, TCU has. I think Ohio State's the better basketball team. This is not Big Ten bias. I've watched Ohio State win big games all year long. They should be able to beat Texas Christian first game of the round of 64. I'm going Ohio State to win as the 8 seed. Okay, next up we move on to, we already went over Nebraska versus Troy. Let's talk about Louisville. Obviously we're taking Nebraska to win, Troy to cover. South Florida versus Louisville. I'm going with South Florida to win outright, plus 185. This game opened at 7.5 point favorites for Louisville. Now it's 4.5. The public money is all on USF. Again, with that being said, I'm not betting on it because of that. I don't love that all the public action is on Louisville. I still think USF's going to win the basketball game. I just don't love it as much as the games I put into the video. But yes, on my bracket, I still have USF beating Louisville. I believe it. Louisville's not 100%. I like USF to keep this game close. Obviously, South Florida had a phenomenal end of their year winning the American Athletic Conference. Okay, next up, we got High Point versus Wisconsin. I'm not a fan of the High Point Panthers just because they feel so fraudulent. They feel extremely fraudulent every single year. They beat up on a horrible Big South conference. You look at their record and say, oh, wow, they won 30 games in the regular season. Yes, they play fast. They shoot threes. I understand. They're a high-scoring team. They're a high-scoring team in the Big South. In the Big South. You're not a high-scoring team against a Wisconsin. Wisconsin does everything better than High Point does. They put points on the board. They will shoot over High Point, and they will dominate this game. Wisconsin will put up 100 points against High Point. How many will High Point have? I'm going to guess in the 80s. Wisconsin should win, and they should cover. Give me Blackwell and Boyd to win that game. Next up, we go to, Duke Siena. Duke wins. Shocker. Spread-wise, probably Duke. Watch out. Let's highlight him right now. Watch out for Gavin Doty. Gavin Doty's had a year, 18 points per game. Again, look at this run he goes on in the Metro Atlantic Conference tournament, 17, 25, 23. He had a monster Metro Atlantic tournament. The problem is, who's stopping Boozer? Again, Boozer's done this all year long to guys. And that's why, his stock's kind of up and down because some scouts believe, and some won't. Twitter believes that he's just a small guard merchant to the point where they just feed him and he's going to back down smaller players and obviously he's going to score. Well, he'll be able to do that all night long against Siena. Well, that will be put to the test later in this tournament, later in this bracket, because yes, Duke has an unfavorable draw as they will likely, they're getting the winner of Ohio State versus TCU. We'll see who that's going to be. So yeah, not a favorable draw at all for Duke. they should beat Siena. No, they will beat Siena. Should cover is a better way of putting it. McNeese versus Vandy. Shout out to McNeese. They won last year in the tournament. They're not beating Vanderbilt. Again, Vandy, so dependent on Tyler Nickel. I still believe that, but Tyler Tanner can score. McNeese, good year this year, but ultimately, yeah, they won the Southland because they were at home in their conference tournament championship game. Good for them. They got past Stephen F. Austin. The Commodores should put belt to ass. And I do still have Vandy beating Florida, by the way. So more on that, obviously, as the tournament continues. I like the Commodores here. Michigan State, North Dakota State. Watch out for the Bison. Bison cover. 16.5. Yep. NDSU covers that spread. I can't figure out Michigan State. I'm going to stop guessing. I'm going to not stop guessing. I'm going to stop trying to guess how Michigan State's going to play because they're unpredictable as hell. NDSU, best year in school history, 27 wins. They will cover the spread here. They will give Michigan State a run for their money. Michigan State defensive first team. All it takes is a horrible game shooting, and all it takes really is Kerr Tang to have a bad day from beyond the arc, and same with Jeremy Fears. Watch out. NDSU can give them trouble. Bison cover, I think, quite easily. That was likely the 6th best bet I had today. I got really close to putting this in the video. Held off. NDSU's plus 16.5. I absolutely love it. Next up, we already went over Hawaii and Arkansas and VCU and North Carolina. Obviously, we're taking Arkansas to win and cover and VCU to win outright. Howard versus Michigan. Yeah, Howard gets to the spot. They shot the three-point ball exceptionally well against UMBC because the Retrievers, again, tried a unique strategy of just saying, you know what? Shoot the three-point ball. We don't care. If you beat us, you beat us. We don't want to be here. Okay? Michigan will dominate Howard. 31.5, though, feels like a lot. I think Howard covers 31.5 personally. But yeah, can they? The thing is, just Michigan obviously is going to have the size advantage. Can Howard stay within 31.5? I wouldn't bet it. I'd probably go Howard plus 31.5, but obviously Michigan's going to dominate. Yeah, Yax Landenberg, obviously, Adai Mara, Merez Johnson. It's a really good team with a lot of good bigs. Michigan wins and covers. No, Howard will cover. Next up, St. Mary's. Oh, sorry. We took BYU to beat Texas, obviously. St. Mary's versus Texas A&M. Like St. Mary's. I think they slow this game down. St. Mary's plays their style of ball. A&M, again, mid-teams out of the SEC, I do not trust. I trust St. Mary's. Mikey Lewis. Morauskas is not playing Gonzaga. That means he's going to show up. Game's in Oklahoma City, so it will be somewhat of a home game for A&M of sorts, I guess. There will be obviously more A&M fans there. I don't care. Give me the Gales. The Gales have not been great in the tournament over the last couple of years. This is their year to win a game. Beyond that, I don't know. But St. Mary's will be A&M in the spot. Give me Morauskas and Lewis to take down the Aggies. Next up, we go on to Illinois versus Pennsylvania. Illinois, a 24.5-point favorite. We love to see it. We took Illinois to win the NCAA tournament and go to the Final Four, and obviously can win the entire thing. Yeah, again, this is a team that feels like they are built for March. There's no other way about it. Either they lose on Sunday, they lose on Saturday, or they go to the Final Four. There's no other way about it. If they can get momentum, I don't think they're being stopped. Legitimately, they're not being stopped. Everyone on the court can shoot. Tomislav Ivisic can play decent enough defense against any big in college basketball. He can give you a fighting chance and he can get rebounds, okay? I love what Illinois does. They just need to put it together because if they don't, well, obviously we lose. This game should not be competitive. UPenn obviously upset Yale, who ended up losing to UNC Wilmington in the first round of the NIT. They upset Yale in the Ivy League Tournament Championship on Sunday. They don't stand a damn chance against Illinois. Penn should really be a 16 seed, not a 14. This is absurd. Illinois got the luckiest draw in this tournament. That's why we love the Illini so much in this entire thing. Their draw is super easy. Illinois wins and covers. Georgia, St. Louis. I like St. Louis. There's obviously a reason it's not in the video. I don't trust the Billikens that much. Georgia, volume shooting team, okay? Wilkinson gets going. Their other guys get going. They can be really good. I've seen games there where Georgia is awful from beyond the arc. St. Louis, same thing. Hot start to the year. Second half of the season, good until the last 5 games where they just did not feel like the same team. George Mason blew his team out by 20 points. Don't love it. I will hesitantly take St. Louis. I'm not confident enough to bet on it, though. That's why it's not in the video at all. St. Louis wins, but I don't like it that much. Next up, Kennesaw, Gonzaga. Obviously, I'm taking Kennesaw to win, but we'll take Gonzaga on the. We'll take Kennesaw to win, but obviously we'll take Kennesaw on the points. It's easier for us. And then finally, Idaho versus Houston. I think Houston probably covers. Yeah, Houston covers. Idaho 21-14 in the regular season. Good for them, right? Got past the tournament in Idaho. They won it. Big upset victories. Obviously, they beat Portland State, and they go on to... Montana beat Portland State. But anyways, they go on to win a couple big games in that tournament. They beat Montana in the championship game. Good for Jackson Rasmussen and this team. Houston's just too much. Kingston Flemings is a player. Uzan, Senac, they're obviously they're just a very well coached team. Okay, I think Illinois is getting them, but I like Houston obviously in the spot against Idaho. Idaho 23.5 point dogs. Think Houston should cover that mark. Anyways, folks, that will do it for our college basketball best bets here on March 19th. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. We'll be back tomorrow again for more madness. The round of 64 continues. We'll break down every single game at the end of the video as well tomorrow, obviously in addition to our 5 best bets. Folks, thank you all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily college basketball best bets. Folks, thank you all for watching, and Mamba forever.